Thank you all for joining us, and especially thank you to Christopher and Cecilia for joining us for our unfortunately last session, but hopefully for this part and in future we will have other gatherings potentially in person. So before we start and until people are still joining, I would just briefly introduce this concept of Socrates cafes to the people who are new to our event. This event aims to engage us in a version of Socratic inquiry, which aims to say that our societal and our personal self are the same. The goal is to have this joint dialogue on various topics, and especially focus on those which we may assume that we already know everything about. We focused in our 4 sessions on gender equality in different aspects, and we will do the same thing tonight. And one important thing is that these gatherings are open for everybody, regardless of your age or educational background, your nationality. So basically everybody can interact who wants to have this respectful and meaningful dialogue on very important questions. And for our 4th session, we have a 4th question. And tonight we will talk about what kind of guidances can foster healthier relationships and celebrate diversity. Because through our sessions, we focused on issues of gender inequality, of issues that minorities face in our society, and we are kind of closing it on this potentially positive notes and our future collaborations and the steps that we can make to make the society a bit more better. So as Professor Christopher said, it would be good if you turn on your camera just so that we have more of a personal feeling in this discussion. And also, if you're not comfortable with talking on the microphone or with having a camera, you can freely use the chat and we will keep an eye on it, read your questions. Also, as you notice, the event is in English, and if you are not that confident, you can also write in a chat in Bosnian, and then I will translate to our speakers. So yeah, I will give the word now to Christopher and Cecilia, and hopefully we'll have a good conversation tonight.
It's morning here. I love the time change. It's so cool. Hi, everybody. I really want to thank the TPO Foundation and Ivana and Zilka for arranging this for me and for Cecilia. It's a real honor to do these kinds of dialogues. And one of the reasons that I still personally am more passionate about this than ever I've been doing this for 28 years now, is because I learned so much from you. My agenda, I don't have an agenda except just to question, to learn, and hopefully we become more thoughtful and feel at least a little bit greater sense of connection as a result of having these. This isn't a debate. I think debate is very important, but this isn't what Socrates Cafe is about. I think first we just need to ask questions together and explore questions in ways that make us feel more connected. So the next time we have to have a debate, maybe we feel a little bit more connected and we don't see people as the other. And we see ourselves as just fellow human beings, curious and inquisitive and perplexed. And from that, we might become more participatory in the world and try to do our little bit of part to make a difference, because we're so polarized right now. And it's I think it's going to be ordinary people like you and me who can make the difference and set the example for people who are supposedly the political leaders and things. I think this question, if you go to our website, socratescafe.com, you can always get more information, and there's a way to be in touch with us. But it's a real beautiful thing to be part of this. And Cecilia and I have been traveling the world now since 1996. We had very modest ambitions at first, and it's been delightful that after 28 years, it still resonates probably more than ever because there's so much polarization. There are so many people, so many good people who are concerned, including the TPO Foundation, which is doing its part and more than its part to bring people together and in such unique ways. Now, the question today is fascinating. It's what kind of guide moving forward can enable us to cultivate healthier ways of relating to one another and celebrating our differences? Now, that's a big question. And so the first thing I would like to ask you is, let's break the question a little bit. And should we celebrate all differences, or what kind of differences between humans, cultures, belief system, what kinds of differences should we celebrate? Or should we just celebrate everything, even if some of the differences might not help us liberate ourselves? But should we celebrate all differences, or just try to celebrate certain kinds of differences? What are your thoughts about that? Is Zilka here? Is she still part?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there you are.
It's a very interesting question, you know.
Because Zilka, I was thinking of you actually. I mean, when you first your journey to feminism, it began in the early 90s in a patriarchal society. That was a kind of difference that could be an obstacle.
Of course.
To celebrating difference.
Of course.
So
I mean, shall we celebrate patriarchy? Shall we celebrate rigid ideologies that prevent other people's human rights? Shall we celebrate those who justify violence? I don't know. There are so many issues we need to think about. So obviously, you know, it's not limitless. So we need to draw the line somewhere and then say, okay, we should celebrate differences as long as, and then we need to define what and to under which circumstances.
Yes.
This is not absolute.
No, absolute. So what does something?
Maybe someone else can jump in, but I mean, it's not limitless, it's not absolute, and it depends.
I mean, what do you do? Because there's still societies that don't even recognize, you know, feminism.
Not only that they don't even recognize, we have flashback and attempts with anti-gender movement to go against it openly. Something that was opposed in silence, sometimes subtle rejection, now today is very open and with clear rejection and clear condemnation of feminism and gender equality. So yeah, we live that reality today. Even in Bosnia and Herzegovina, currently in part of it, we have an attempt of the government to change every law in which the word gender appear.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
We sign petitions, we protest, but obviously we will not be able to do much. The government has decided to do it, and obviously it's going to pass.
Wow.
So we'll see. Yeah.
So that's the context that you're working from after making huge leaps forward.
Yeah. So basically we made 3, 4, 5 steps forward, and now they are bringing us back 10 steps back, threatening that they will exclude any attempts that go pro gender equality. So yeah, this is really weird, especially for those of us who have been on the scene for 25, 30 years. And then what is the message for younger generation? Okay, does it worth fighting, struggling for it, or what's going to happen, you know, in the next 30 years?
How did you make those 6 steps forward?
Very hard, you know, making allies, advocacy, lobbying, networking, educating, investing so much time and energy, you know, to convince people that we should make differences. It was a long path. And when you turn back, you see how much you have accomplished, and now you see the guys who don't have a clue about it. They don't care, and they just want to get elections, get votes, simplifying all the reality to some messages that are appealing to the masses, that gender is terrifying word, that it's gonna ruin the family, tradition, religion, etc. And people don't want to explore. So they just believe what they say in media and in public sphere.
Because when you started this journey, you received a lot of negative reaction, not from men, but from women.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was opposition. It was also not enough understanding, but it was civilized, and people at least didn't reject the idea. You know, slowly, step by step, they accepted changes, accepted the new laws, quotas, etc. And now, all of a sudden, we have the guys who oppose everything with very offensive rhetoric in public and in media.
So, ordinary people, what can we, those others who are here participating today, what can each of us do to celebrate those kinds of differences that make us more connected, greater sense of equality among classes, among belief systems and genders? What do some other people think?
Hello, everyone. Maybe I can share some of my experiences. I'm a teacher in secondary school in Sarajevo. And for example, when I email to my students, I say, for example, in Bosnian language, dragi učenice, dragi učenici, in gender, in English, just dear students. And during regular classes, I try to emphasize importance of gender. For example, I try to find evidences all the time. And the best resource, because I'm professor of Islamic education, the best resource is the Quran. And then I say, you know, there is a chapter with name An-Nisa in Arabic language, in English, women. And then also I say some verses from, some quotes from sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as the last prophet, and his protection of all genders, all people, all races, and his the best behavior towards all people. And I told to my students to share these ideas, not just to keep that in classrooms, but also to share these beautiful ideas of tolerance, about love, about the best behavior. And sometimes I ask them, could you share your experience about last homework? And then I try to motivate them, you know, you will deserve excellent mark. This is not about mark, this is about life. Please try to be good, and you know, etc.
So what can you do as an individual human being to, you know, try to move things in the right direction when you see that they're going in the wrong direction, as a teacher, as an educator, as a citizen? Because there's risks involved. There's great risks, professional, personal.
Is that question for me or
For you?
Here?
And then everybody.
What can I say? I just returned from my job. I had a lot of duties, but I'd like to participate in this Zoom meeting. I tried to find some good examples in Prophet's life of Muhammad alayhi salam, and also in life, maybe my life, life of some of my colleagues or some of my friends. And then I'm asking my students about the examples. And for example, I remember one student, she was talking about her family and some duties in home. And she told me she thought that some younger generations have different opinions about gender, like different than opinions of our ancestors. And for example, it's not a problem that father like to go to clean kitchen or to cook, but no, maybe in some contemporary times, in some families that is problem. And I was surprised with this example, and motivated for my job to share the best way of living for both males and females.
Well, so you are a very positive guide.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for that. What are some other thoughts? Some others? There's 4 without their videos, so I can't see them.
Yes.
Hello. Who are you?
My name is Ismet Dilaver. I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina, but I study actually in Romania. I'm doing my PhD in Romania. I'm also a former student of Professor Zilka Spahić-Šiljak, because last year I finished the master's program in democracy and human rights. So I just want to say that maybe in societies like Bosnia, maybe it's better to say that some differences should be, maybe we say celebrate it's too much in the beginning, because I still think that Bosnia is a conservative society. So maybe we should say that some differences should be tolerated. And maybe
like what?
I don't know, LGBT, for example, because LGBT people don't have many rights in Bosnia. But if we say that we need to celebrate LGBT, many religious people could be, offended in a way, because if you are religious, usually it means that you need to consider somebody who is LGBT, let's say, that he's a sinner. So we say that we need to tolerate that, then we have more space to work on that in the future.
Oh, that's Ismet. This is a great differentiation between, tolerating differences and celebrating, and many differences are just tolerated, and some differences are celebrated. And yes, of course, I mean, in every society we choose, what to celebrate and what to tolerate. And in some places in the world, we are tolerated as a group or individual with our worldviews or religious, ethnic background, racial or whatever. And in some other places, we are celebrated. Yeah, so this is a really important differentiation. Thank you.
Ismet, did you have more that you wanted to say? Because I stopped you.
No. For now, that's everything I wanted to say, but I will probably have more comments later on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Some others want to say something? Seja?
We have Shayla and Olga. Olga disappeared, probably her connection. Yeah, if someone, Shayla, would you like to join us? Shayla is a great teacher, pedagogue, and doctor of management in education.
Pozdravljam sve prisutne, međutim, meni je problem govor engleskog jezika. Ja dobro razumijem, ali...
Okay, maybe Ivana can translate for you.
Da. Ovdje, koliko sam primijetila, mislim, razgovaramo o toleranciji i uvažavanju, kako različitosti na nivou spolnosti, ali tako i različitosti u svakom pogledu, individualne različitosti. Ja se jako puno bavim tolerancijom i suživotom i pomirenjem individualnosti kod djece, s obzirom da radim oko možda 15 godina u 2 škole pod jednim krovom. To je za profesora vjerovatno nešto što ne može možda spoznati kako to izgleda, šta znači školovanje u jednoj zgradi.
Da ga uvede.
Da prevede.
Može, naravno.
Okay. So I'll translate to Sheila, and I interrupted her so that you can follow it in sections. So she understands that the conversation is focused on, tolerance and the issue of this difference between celebration and tolerance. And actually, she has her background in education. She works on pedagogy and on this peace building within children. And she's actually has 15 years of her work experience in this concept of two schools under one roof, which she says will probably be very surprising to you. And it's this post-war concept where they divide kids by nationality, even though it's the same building, the object is the same with one roof, but you go to separate classes with people of your own nationality. And now she will continue, I'll continue translating. Sheila, možete nastaviti?
Da. Ono što je izazov u radu u takvom okruženju, to je stvaranje povjerenja koji je jedan proces. Tako da je meni dugo trebalo vremena da stvorim povjerenje među učenicima i suradnju, da zajedno se razgovara o njihovim potrebama, o njihovim željama sa aspekta njihove individualnosti, a ne sa aspekta njihove nacionalnosti ili vjerskog identiteta. Tako da mogu reći nakon 5 godina kontinuiteta u edukaciji, hoćete moći ovo prevesti? Tek ove godine smo uspjeli da stvorimo zajednički jedan film dokumentarni koji će evo sad imati promociju na jednom sastanku međureligijskog vijeća koji upravo govori o njihovoj spoznaji važnosti suživota mira i njihovog pomirenja međusobnog dok su još djeca. Da tad se na pravi način posmatraju stvari, a ne podvojeno ili razdvojeno.
Okay, so Sheila says that through her work experience, it's very challenging, and actually the biggest challenge is creating this trust within children, and not just trust on some basic level, but trust on their individual level, so that they know they can trust other individuals and children of their age based on that personal contact, and not just on the acceptance of within one national group. So how to build trust with this other group. And even though she's been doing that for years and the schools are focused on peace building, the only steps forward have been made in the past 5 years. And currently they, just this year, they created this movie together with this school, which they presented this interreligious council as one of the successful projects, which shows that, this trust can be established, but it's a very long process that the professor still, has some difficulties going through with it.
Također, pored ovog načina rada, bavim se i tom rodnom ravnopravnosti, evo, zahvaljujući TPO fondaciji i profesorci Zilki, imam priliku da radim ne samo sa svojim učenicima u osnovnoj školi, već radim i sa studentima i mogu vam reći, to je za mene predstavljam veliki izazov, jer sam tek ušla u jedno polje koje je do sad za mene bilo nepoznato, jer sam uvidjela da stvarno naša djeca, bar ovdje u Bosni i Hercegovini, imaju vrlo malo znanja o rodnoj ravnopravnosti i o tome šta to u stvari znači i kako to treba da funkcioniše, već su opterećeni mnogim predrasudama, neopravdano, stereotipima, mitovima koji jednostavno su proželi cjelokupno njihovo obrazovanje i odgoj i koji su u stvari njihov identitet nekako formirali, tako da tu ćemo imati jako puno posla, ali treba biti uporan i nastaviti sa svim ovim procesima. Ja osjećam da smo se pomjerili sa neke nulte tačke i da imamo pravo reći da smo bar jedan korak naprijed u odnosu na ono gdje smo bili.
Hvala.
I understood Bosnia and Herzegovina.
That's something. So yeah, Sheila mentioned that besides her work with children, she also works on this topic of gender equality in general, so not just within the context of peace building. And she's been following the work of TPO Foundation and together with Professor Zilka. And in the past few months, she switched from working only with high school and elementary children to working with students, like university students. And there she came across a bigger challenge, because she didn't expect those students to be so full of prejudice and stereotypes and all of these different kind of harmful ideas that she didn't expect. And she says that we can notice in Bosnian and Herzegovinian society, that these students and younger generations actually have a lot of these harmful ideas, which are again focused on prejudice and other things. And yeah, she sees that as our next challenge. Like, we can influence the children, but the students are maybe a bit of a bigger challenge. But still, she's optimistic that at least we made one step forward, and then, you know, it's up to us to keep going.
I još treća grupa, samo malo, još treća grupa sa kojom radim, koja mi je posebno važna i gdje mi je najveći izazov i smatram da mogu tu postići nekako najviše uspjeha, koja će ujedno i pomoći mi da u mladima nekakve promjene uradim, to je rad sa ženama. Osnaživanje žene u našem društvu je veoma važno, spoznaja njenih uloga, kako u porodici, tako u društvu, u politici, u zajednici, njene vrijednosti i staviti nekako težište na vrijednosti žene u društvu i koliko ona može kroz svoje djelovanje i odgoj mijenjati svijet, je za mene veoma važno i ja evo nekako najviše pažnje posvećujem sad trenutno tom dijelu.
Well, so Sheila would just like to add that also she additionally works with this third group that's most important to her, and that's working with women. And she says that by working with women, we can actually change these generations of students, the society in general, because working with them, we can shift their ideas of what's women's role, what's her role in a home, what's her role in a society in general, in politics, and so on. And she actually believes only by working specifically with this group, giving them the biggest focus, we can actually create the biggest change for our future and our society. And currently, she's mostly focused on working with women.
Evo, mislim da je dovoljno. Hvala vam što ste me saslušali. Potruću se da pratim ostatak.
Samo vi svoje. Christopher, I can also translate for you.
Okay, I just, you know, one of the challenges in the United States that I'm encountering is a lot of students are afraid to really share their authentic opinion. They're worried that if they say what they really think, it will affect their grade in class. If a teacher is very liberal and they are conservative, they're afraid. If they're very liberal and the teacher's conservative, they're afraid. How do we have these authentic expressions of our perspectives without worrying about consequences, you know, to lots of things? I mean, there's so many different kinds of issues. Right now, you know, there's so much, if you go to the internet, this is what we were going to talk about last time, there's so much misinformation, deliberate misinformation about women in politics. You know, oh, women are too emotional. In open societies, there's still this nonsense. Women should not be politicians, they're too emotional. How do you, when people are trying deliberately to create false differences, how do you combat that?
And if you respond emotionally,
yeah,
if you respond emotionally with strong emotions, then they gonna say, okay, oh, this is an evidence of what we are claiming, that they are really emotional and not good for politics. Yeah, right. It's really offensive, and you cannot believe that it's happening. Of course, both women and men are emotional beings, and women maybe are socialized more to be more attentive, empathic, and emotional because they are in patriarchal societies taking care of kids and families and etc. Their socialization process is different from males, and that's why. But I mean, saying that they are not good for politics today in 21st century, when new theories of leadership say that emotional intelligence is more important than anything else in good leadership, it's nonsense. But it's happening. But what worries me more is not just those who are saying that, but those who are believing in that.
Exactly.
How come we are ready to believe in those kind of statements?
So what can we do as individuals and you know, forming communities, even this community on Zoom, to change people, to give people authentic information. Because it seems to me that if the political pendulum keeps swinging conservative and then progressive, that part of it has to be by having more women in politics, having a much greater percentage, including, I'm talking about many countries. And there's so many countries, of course, that even basically don't even permit women in politics in political positions. So there's a really big struggle. Like Zilka, I look to you as a guide, and you must face many kinds of encounters with people who are opposed to what you do, probably now more than ever if there's a conservative government. You have to take a lot of risks, don't you?
Of course, and they attack you openly and also behind the scene. They do all kinds of stuff just to discourage you to keep going on. And especially, you know, I recently had a situation when some of the groups hired a woman to do the job for them. And then it's always more successful when you have a woman to go against another woman to basically tell you that what you do is not good and that they will ruin your credibility in public. And they can, you know, come with lies in media. They can present you as a criminal, as someone who is doing I don't know what, because you are promoting feminism and gender equality. So yeah, it's happening, and it's happening for many women in this region. But if you believe that this is the way, you know, what you should do, you'll do it. And the best way, I would say, what Ramzia brought from her class, what she's doing is, you know, to bring and set up good examples for people. That's the best way. Sometimes you don't see results immediately. Sometimes you are disappointed. Sometimes it is hard to see that no one is behind you to support you, to advocate for you, to, you know, when you are attacked, to stick with you. But if you believe that gender equality is good both for men and women and for all of us in the community, that's the only way, you know, to do it. But it's not easy, and it takes a lot of courage. It's time consuming, and sometimes you know, tiring to repeat, you know, the same issues over and over. Like, you know, it seems when I talked to my colleague just a few days ago, who is a human rights activist, he told me, you know, I'm pulling out now the idea that I had 25 years ago. And I think they need to be readdressed today, you know, because we thought that we resolved some of the issues 25 years before, but we obviously haven't. And we have to do it again and again, because new generation of people, especially new generation who live in cyberspace more than ever, need to be really sensitized for these issues.
Because you, as you said, you made 6 steps forward and then all of a sudden 10 steps back.
Yeah.
But do you have a lot more people now working with you to try to kind of push back against that?
Yes, we do. But I mean, if you just one example, Shayla knows, our colleague, who is a famous politician, human rights activist, and peace builder, Basima, who protested against one of the current ministers in the government, who was violent and who was accused for family violence. And now he is suing her. She is sued, and then she has to pay a fine. It's a big fine. I don't remember how much, But now she's in the situation, you know, to defend herself. Of course, there is a huge support of all of us, but we do not know what's going to happen in the court. You know, all of these activists, human rights activists and peace builders, you know, come to the situation that they are accused. And instead of going forward with your struggle, you basically have to react, to defend yourself from accusations that you offend those perpetrators of violence.
So what I'm wondering now, since you
basically there is a new law. Ivana, please remind me. There is a new law in the Republic of Srpska on slander.
Yeah, there's a law on slander, on labeling NGOs as foreign agents, and also they're changing the family law to remove the words femicide so that it wouldn't be like specifically pursued as a crime. So three different laws, which are all bad.
So is one difference now, and I'm asking this to Professor Zilk and everybody, between the 1990s and now, that we also have global connections, that we can turn any local or national issue, we can also connect ourselves with others in other parts of the world who can join our fight, so we can push back in a way that we could not in 10, 20 years ago? Do we have more global connections? Do you have more global connections who can also contribute resources and their own personal reputations to try to push back against this? Does that make sense?
I do. Just last week we had a group of 25 women activists from Germany, Netherlands and Italy who came here and then who support women in this region. And we talked about it. We are connected more than ever. We have connections with women in Latin America, in Africa. Just next month, we will have a seminar with women from all of these continents. And it's great that you are connected, but I'm not sure these connections can help us individually, that we continue thriving and fighting and resisting. But I mean, what's going on systematically here through the changes of legislation and through the governmental channels, I'm not sure that these connections can help in that particular matter. So I believe that maybe lobbying to some governments like yours, you know, to push a little bit harder on those who pursue these kind of policies and changes of legislation.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know, maybe some other...
yes, what are some others think? I'm curious to know if other educators here, other male and female, if you've also...
Saida, maybe you can join us.
If you find strength in other connections from other people in other places.
A microphone.
Mike,
Unmute. Hi. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Who are you?
I'm Saida.
Oh, okay. There you are. Oh, it's because the blocks move.
Yeah.
So, okay. So now Professor Zilka's in the middle. Okay. Thank you.
For me, it's also, I want to speak in Bosnian if it's okay.
Yes, of course.
Your English is good, but anyway, I mean, even I can translate. Yes. I just encourage you to speak English. Yes, I know that Shayla also can speak, but I mean, that's okay.
Yeah, it's not fair because you can speak in more sophisticated and elegant and nuanced. Yeah. I totally understand.
Yeah, just to say before she starts that Saida is a sociologist and journalist and also a writer. She wrote a couple of books of poems, and now the new book is coming out about a very famous lady, Ani Radošević-Rajs, who was among the intellectuals who established the Collegium Artisticum, very important cultural institution. It was before the Second World War, Saida, or after the Second World War?
Before.
Before,
Wow.
yeah. And she made an incredible documentary that was screened last year on the Sarajevo Film Festival. She's a great author of everything. Now, Saida,
wow.
Thank you.
after this introduction, you can continue.
So will you be sure to, I want, so we can continue, before I forget, can we share each other's emails so we can stay in touch as a community?
Of course.
Yes. Okay. So please, that's so amazing.
Ja bih samo da podijelim i ovo Zilkino mišljenje u smislu da mi imamo ozbiljan problem. Meni se čini da imamo sve ozbiljniji problem što se tiče institucionalnog uvezivanja i ove ravnopravnosti spolova, jer nekako smo u grupama, evo sad i kroz TPO fondaciju, isključeni iz tog institucionalnog djelovanja. I još bih dopunula da je sjajna Besima Borić, koja je sad na sudu sa ministrom našim kulture, osoba koja je dio vrha stranke, političke stranke iz koje je taj ministar postavljen na vlast. Ivana, mnogo.
Nije taman. So Saida would like to actually add on what Professor Zilka said, that this part of institutional aspect is very important for the current gender inequality and for potential future gender equality. And she says that even though, you know, we are joined as organizations through different work, like the work of TPO Foundation or in general the activist group, still we don't have that institutional access to actually make these direct changes to different policies and things like that. And also there is this other issue that she explains with the example of Berisa. Is that the name?
Besima.
Yeah, the example that Professor mentioned, that she's actually also ahead of the political party from which that minister is. So there's like that additional layer of, you know, conflict and obstacles. Saida, hoćete još nešto ili...
Samo još da dodam da kod nas paralelno sa svim problemima koje smo imali se dešava lanac jedan femicida. Ja sam malo prije pročitala vijest da se još jedan femicid desio, da je pronađena žena sa 2 djece koju je ubio suprug koji je kasnije izvršio suicid. Tako da se ta naša situacija, to je ono što je Zilka malo prije rekla, da idemo naprijed 6 koraka, da se vratimo nazad 10. Sad imamo još dodatne probleme. To nasilje je prisutno, mi to vidimo u jeziku kad radimo neka istraživanja, ali sad stvarno kao da je došla do neke erupcije nasilja.
So Saida also mentions that it's very important to emphasize this chain of femicides that have been happening, and especially in the past couple of years. And just a few moments ago, she actually read an article about a new femicide where a woman was murdered with children and the guy committed the suicide, which is usually the case how they happen. And she says that we were always aware of the presence of that violence, and we can even notice it in language which is being used when we conduct certain research. But in the past few months and years, she notices this eruption of violence, and it comes out in this worst form, like the femicide and other forms of very harsh physical violence and in the end murder.
So I would like to ask my wife and partner Cecilia to talk about this, because in less than 2 weeks, there's a presidential election in Mexico, where she's from. The 2 president candidates on the principal parties are women for the first time in history. So the president is going to be a woman. How, in the context of this, though, the cases of femicide are soaring. I mean, they're off the charts. They're so high. It's worse than ever at a time when the principal candidates are women. They come out in the millions to protest it's still soaring. So even though it looks like there's going to be more political influence than ever from women, the contradiction is that the cases of femicide against women across classes, is soaring in her country. Ceci, how can we, in the context of this question about looking to each other as guides to create healthy connections, celebrate the healthy differences, what do you say about that? Because there's a connection here, and I'm wondering, countries that are facing this, how do we connect with each other?
Well, first, I really want to say that all of you are an incredible inspiration, and the work that you are doing is amazing. Yeah, I mean, I see that contradiction here in Mexico, and it's heartbreaking because one of the candidates is considered like a nice ice cold heart, right? Especially because she's not so emotional, just like kind of the things that we were talking about. So you either too emotional or you're not emotional enough, you're cold. And then, yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes I wonder if they're just puppets, because the reality is that we don't have the same opportunities as men do. And again, as Chris was saying, the feminicide is soaring. And I have been thinking about, just listening to what you're saying, that I think before celebrating our differences, we need to emphasize our similarities. And what I mean by that is, we're all humans. Doesn't matter what gender, ethnicity, age, nationality, background, religion we have. We all are humans, and we all have dreams, and we all have the right to be happy. And I feel that if we make the other, whoever that is, understand that, like if we can have a conversation about what we have as similar before any of that enters, then we can celebrate those differences. I remember when I first met Chris, one of the things that just stuck with me was that he was saying, if everything was brown, we wouldn't know that it was brown, right? I mean, because everything will be the same. And I feel that if our conversations can build empathy in what is it that we have in common as human beings, then perhaps then the next step will be celebrating our differences. Like I was thinking about what Shayla was saying. I mean, what a challenge to have children from two different nationalities and religions trying to build those bridges of understanding. We're all kids. We all like to play, right? We all like certain foods. We all want to be, just like the basic needs of drinking water and being fed before anything else comes in. And understanding also that in our brain, we have that fear of the other. It's built into our biology, right? It's these prejudices that we have are part of just naturally. They're, that's how we evolved in tribes and afraid of the other. But if we can understand that, then we can move on. I feel that before we don't understand that we all have the same rights, that we all have dreams, that we all have needs, that hey, I like to play with you, you know, as kids. I also like the same clothes. I like certain music and certain foods. I just building that empathy. It doesn't matter if we're girls or boys, if we're adults or children. Then we can then celebrate that. I see it with you know, we have two daughters, and the younger one is always in fights at school because she doesn't like, not bad fights. I think very, I guess, arguments with boys and with other people, because she's always questioning why we listen to this music, that it's violent against women.
Or even in a dance class, she'll say, why do I have to dance with a boy? You know, who assumes that I have to dance with a boy? You know, the teachers get upset. And I'm thinking she's asking a common sense question. Why should her partner have to be a boy?
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh, she's asking, you know, they'll call us and say, oh, or why they have one day a week, it's a private school where they used to have to wear skirts one day a week. She said, why? Who invented that? I bet it was a man who told us, you know? So our daughter is like, oh, she's asking too many questions and she's challenging. And I'm so grateful that she is challenging. We actually had to switch her school because she was rightfully asking what her parents consider the right kinds of questions. And the hierarchy there would not change. And they didn't like her questions. She wasn't doing it to be aggressive or hostile or provocative. She was doing it because they were authentic, heartfelt questions. And look at her mom and dad, you know. But these are the challenges. Professor Zilka,
yeah,
please.
Basically, we are going back to the beginning, what you have asked about authentic voice. Whenever you speak with your authentic voice, you immediately are being labeled either as feminist or aggressive, troublemaker or whatever. So as soon as a woman decide to express her own opinion, I heard that many times from my students, that they are shied away to express their opinions because they're going to be recognized as feminists or sharp-tongued women, or I don't know, many other labels, bossy, or so some other bad words, which is really sad, you know, to have that today. And we are asking people and then teaching them, like you teach your daughter, to be authentic and to express her voice openly.
I was in Saudi Arabia, and we had a dialogue fairly similar in theme. And one of the women at the dialogue, she was very conservatively dressed. You could only see her eyes. She said, I just got a call from the school principal complaining because my daughter asks too many questions. Isn't that what school's about? She was, and again, just authentic questions generated from curiosity about what she was learning. And I bet you if she had been a boy, they would never have asked or complained.
No, I usually, you know, because Ramzia inspired me at the beginning, I usually, when they say, you know, women shouldn't raise their voices and ask questions, I say, okay, women in 7th century of Medina asked Prophet Muhammad, where are we in the revelation? And they requested the answer and they got the answer. If they could have done that in 7th century, asking that kind of a question, why we cannot pose other questions today? And this is a great example to say, okay, women should ask all kinds of questions, including where are we in the language, where are we in science, in politics, and everywhere.
Well, you know, as you know, I have citizenship, not just in the United States, but I also have Greek citizenship. And so when my yaya, my Greek grandmother, When she was being raised, it was a matriarchal, matrilineal society.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mussolini's fascists came in, and she escaped because she couldn't even teach in the Greek language at school. She was an educator. There was no way to fight it. You would be killed.
Yep.
So she came to the United States through Ellis Island, and she established her own school for Greek language and culture. But she did not like the United States. She missed, and by the time that things changed and Greece became a democracy again, well, guess what? It also became patriarchal.
Yep.
Greek Orthodox Church. I mean, we can't
but also liberalism and capitalism, they goes hand in hand with patriarchy. So this is another topic maybe for another cafe.
Yeah,
but
this
has
to be
also
continued.
Very problematic. Yeah.
Right. I mean, we can't even do a Socrates Cafe sometimes without first a blessing from a Greek Orthodox priest in certain places.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And even the men, people grumble and they speak under their voice, but they won't say anything out loud. They won't say anything publicly. So how do there's a lot of, we all have to come together in our different societies when we recognize connections of femicide, of patriarchy, of the wrong sort, of misinformation, deliberate disinformation. These are areas where we all have to join together and push back. And
yeah. But most people are afraid of, and of being ostracized, marginalized, excluded. So they don't want to speak openly in public. Very often they say, okay, go on, Zilka, say we think the same as you do. And then you are left alone and in public, and then you are targeted.
So you're left alone and you don't have the same resources to fight back.
Exactly. So this is something what we need to work on more, to have more accountable and responsible citizens. We need to mature as citizens, as political human beings, to know that we are responsible not only for ourselves but also for people around us and our communities.
Yeah. I was thinking, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just, I saw a lot of people nodding their heads, and I was wondering, including Ceci, what you wanted to say.
Well, Silke, I was just thinking, and I don't know if you already have done this, but like a series of videos, like very short, kind of like what they're used to in this new era of TikTok and Instagram, which is everything really, really short, with your message, like in a little series of little tiny digestive things. So it's like your energy, instead of, saying 1,000 times the same message, it's in this series of videos that somehow are appealing to the young and can go viral.
I made so many videos and lectures, but I think it would be more appealing if someone like Ivana, Remzia, Ismet, those younger guys do that.
That's what I meant.
They don't want to listen to us. We are over,
Yes.
They want to listen these young guys, so they can convey message even better than us. We can teach them and help them. But I think this kind of new media and new way of communication via TikTok and some other media better suits younger guys who would listen, who would go and listen me or I don't know.
Yeah. Can you get your video? So what do you think about that? And this old guy with a young family.
With rap, I mean, it can be like little rap or something.
You don't want to see me. You don't want to see me.
This is, I think it's really difficult to live in Bosnia for young people because, unfortunately, I would say that maybe this is not happening in Sarajevo, but maybe in other cities, young people are raised to be nationalists. and they are raised in a way not to, how to say, like to stick with themselves, to stick with people who belong to the same religion as them, to the same nationality, and they always talk about others as others, you know, like they are not like us. And I have to say something. When I was younger, when I was going to elementary school, I remember that we were learning like how to be polite in our language. And the first thing that we did was how to say like good morning, good evening, good afternoon, etc. We said it in Bosnian. When I came back to my grandmother, I told her good morning, which is dobro jutro in Bosnian, and she told me, don't ever say that, because that's not how we say hello to each other. We need to say assalamu alaikum, because that is the religious greeting we have. And what to do, because in school I'm told that I need to use dobro jutro or dobar dan, but when I come back home I'm not allowed to use that. This maybe could be one of the problems, and I believe that many people who live in this part, let's say in this city, probably have that problem. If they, I don't know, if they have grandmother who is religious, who is conservative, patriarchal, so it's difficult to, I don't know, it's difficult to respect others and to treat them the same way as other people who belong to your community, because that's how your family thinks about that. And also, I wanted to say that I have a question for Professor Zilka. I wanted to ask you, is it possible to get rid of patriarchy, but also to, at the same time, to preserve religion? Because I need to be honest, the religion Islam, I will talk about that religion because I come from a Muslim family. Often, like when I was learning about religion, it was represented to me in a really strict way. For example, especially to women, what women are not supposed to do. Even in elementary school and at high school, we had religious classes. And some of the things we were mentioning, for example, are that God said that man is superior to women, that are allowed to hit their wives if they don't obey them, that women ride bicycles, that cannot travel to other cities if they are not accompanied by a male family member of their family.
What kind of teachers you had in your school? Probably not Remzia.
No, I mean, I had different teachers, because, for example, sometimes we would have like one teacher for 1 year and then another one for 2 years. And in high school, we had 3 different teachers for each year. But whenever they talk about that, they talk about this usually. Like we had a lesson, what should women wear? So we were saying about everything. So basically for me, I don't know, like if she was talking about you, she would say that you are not wearing hijab properly. She would say that your neck can be seen. It's not okay. It's a part of sunnah. Well, so that is the problem that I have. Like people understand religion, at least in this part of Bosnia and Zenica, I would say, or maybe even in part, it's as something that is really strict and that you can never debate about, and you just need to listen to other people telling you about that. And I personally don't agree with these things, but this is what I've been told.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you know, this is not the first time to hear that. This is really weird, you know, to know that they still teach this kind of patriarchal Islam in schools, and that they didn't give up, you know, from it. And that there are teachers who really believe in that. Unfortunately, that's the situation. I know many teachers who teach Islamic education in different ways, that is very inclusive, very open. I don't know, we don't have time. This is not a forum, you know, to debate in detail the questions you asked about. But this is, you know, just taking some sentences and messages out of the context and out of the framework of the entire ethical message of the Quran. You cannot just interpret one sentence and say men are better or more superior or that they are entitled to physically discipline women, etc. So this is really not acceptable, and this is basically against God. What they do is that they are promoting violence in the name of God, which is really bad. And of course, I mean, dealing with these formal issues, how someone wears hijab, what kind of clothing, etc. I don't have time, for that. I don't want to debate about that, because whether I wear hijab or not, this is my own personal issue. No one should interfere and discuss it. So this is not something, for people to discuss how someone do that. Because faith is between the person and the divine and God. And why we don't pay attention how we behave to one another, what kind of ethical and moral values we promote, whether we support each other, how we really witness our faith, why it is important what kind of scarf do I wear or someone else, why it is important what kind of pants, or whether you have beard or not. This is really irrelevant. For me, this is irrelevant. What is relevant is our heart and the way how we communicate with other people and how we really witness our faith. Everything else really are minor issues. And then, of course, I mean, when you have young children who are exposed to that kind of education, that they can uncritically accept that as modus vivendi and simply live that kind of a message. And they are ready to question that, someone's scarf, but they are not ready to question other issues in their lives. Why they are not ready to question violence against women and children.
Right. And
why they border so much with Zilka's neck and not so much with violence against family, So this is the real question.
Yes.
These are questions, and it also, again, makes me think of you as a guide, because you have had to take risks, personal risks. You've faced threats. In Iran, if you don't wear the hijab, or if you don't wear it properly, a young woman lost her life.
I know. I wrote an article about her, Mahsa Amini, yeah.
And then men and women are still protesting. A rap artist, Tumaj, who I listen to, he's been sentenced to execution because he protested this. So people are risking, depending on your country, you're risking your very life to advance in a country that doesn't tolerate certain things. But there's an element of risk. In the United States, students are risking their educational futures. Whether you agree or disagree with them, you have to admire their courage for taking risks that affect their future as students and that affect their professional futures, even if you don't agree politically with them. They're putting their futures at stake by taking risks, and that element of risk taking, I think, is embedded in trying to move things forward as you hope that they'll be, so the next generations don't have to do it.
Yeah, but I believe, we need to think to teach people to critically think everything and to scrutinize everything, even their own faith. Sometimes I may sound blasphemic when I say we need to question even God. We believers, we need to question even God to be able to believe in him or her properly. But people are not ready to do that because they've been socialized in parochial mentality to be followers, to follow certain ideologies, and not to be free-thinking human beings who will critically examine every issue. It is not the case only in Bosnia, it's everywhere. I spent more than 10 years in the United States and in other European countries. I know how things works, to be politically correct and not to speak with your authentic voice. And that's why we have right-wing politicians winning elections all around Europe, because people suppress their own authentic voices and what they really think.
It's difficult. You really are taking a risk
Yep.
when you speak authentically about
Yep.
things.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And
I
even
mean,
in the most supposedly open societies.
exactly. I mean, a couple of years ago, when I had a book promotion in Croatia, together with my colleague who is a Christian theologian and who is human rights activist and gender equality scholar, you know, the Catholic agency wrote an article about me as a dangerous feminist who came from Bosnia to ruin, you know, the values of people in Croatia. And I was proud of that. And I said, if I'm the one who will ruin the values of these people, then the world is over. But yeah, it's happening because they put target on your head, you know. They target people and say, okay, oh, she's the one. And just a funny thing, last week there was a interreligious event organized by Franciscan priests here in Bosnia after the encyclical of Pope Francis and the document on human brotherhood signed by Al-Azhar Mufti and Pope Francis together, which is great. And the content is really beautiful. It's about solidarity, empathy, humankind, you know, that we are all one family, brothers and sisters. And then they invited me, and I was the only woman in the panel. And then I, you know, before I started speaking, Franjo Topić, professor of Catholic theology, this audience know who is the guy, publicly said, you know, I got some calls. People asked me, why did I invite Zilka? Because she's a dangerous feminist. And he was talking openly on the panel. And he said, I can handle her critique. And then I criticized the language of the document because there are no sisters, there is no sisterhood, only brotherhood, etc. And I said, okay, imagine if I showed up here and said, hello, ladies, not addressing you, man. And if I brought a document about human sisterhood, would you find yourself with that document? And then the professor Topić said, oh, I expected more criticism. This is what we can handle. So feminism, you know, to this extent is okay. I mean, this was a joke, but basically some people are ready to listen your critique, some are not. If someone was instead of that professor, he would immediately dismiss my participation and say, okay, she's not good for this audience. Because I know that in many cases, they say, don't invite Zilka because you know what she's doing, or women like me.
Well, can I tell you how I get in trouble these days?
Yes.
Because my 10-year-old daughter and my daughter came home from school and she said, why don't we get to vote for president? Why don't we have any decision making? Why don't we get to vote on issues that affect schools, on funding for schools? Mm-hmm. And so we are at the beginning of an effort to lower the voting age. And so I have been excluded now from this public radio station because we had a discussion about this. They will not invite me back just because we had a discussion. I have never been invited back, and I never will be. Yeah. Just because I suggested that maybe, you know, because age is arbitrary. Mm-hmm. Why not? You know, a lot of people have very fixed views about it, but they don't know they do until you start talking about it. Oh, they're not mature enough. And I say, well, do you look at the negative ads that adults listen to and believe it's true? The misinformation and disinformation. Maybe younger people are more authentic and see through it because of their creative thinking hasn't been tainted or poisoned yet by corporate cultural media.
Yeah, you're right.
We've opened a big can of worms.
Yeah, she goes into YouTube and listens to the debates, the presidential debates, just really, really carefully. And thinks about it. It's like, no, they're not saying this. They're only including women. Nobody's talking about children. Because, she understands that it is their future. If they would be more honest and perhaps more inclusive and have more, perhaps, better agendas into ecological issues, educational issues, if children were voting for them, right?
I'm sure that they would. So we need
Anyway,
we need more children.
we need more voices, but I want to make sure, are there others here who want to say something? Isma, before I forget, you speak Romanian then, is that right?
No, I don't speak Romanian.
Oh, you don't?
Program
Okay.
English literature.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
I was going to tell you self-servingly that my book just came out by a Romanian publisher. But
congratulations.
Maybe I can add something.
Yes, please.
I would like to say about Zilka's speech and Ceci's speech about behavior and better conversation, better relationships among different people. And also Ceci's speech, it was about human beings. This is very useful. Sometimes I think we forget that we are human beings, that we are similar people. A lot of times we spend to speak about diversities. We are different, but there are a lot of similarities. I'm a teacher of also about of subject religious studies, which is a subject which is learned in Cambridge University for students from 16 to 18 years old. And we learn actually 3 monotheistic religions, and there are some tasks in form of statements, and we have to discuss about, for example, all Jewish people should visit synagogue every day, or all Muslims should visit mosque every day. And I also would like to connect this with Professor Phillips' thought about opinions. When people, young people, old people can't say their real opinions. In this subject, I try to motivate my students to say openly what they believe, and then I emphasize without offending. And again, I would like to return to this idea about behavior. For example, there is one quote from Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam that the closest people will be those who show the best behavior, but also those who try to also to show good behavior to other people. And also there are more quotes about that. And the reward is paradise. And before paradise and after, people have to make paradise here some kind of paradise. This is not paradise, this is not Jannah, but people have to try to think more about these similarities, about peace. Unfortunately, I heard some topics about a woman who was killed because problem was something about hijab, and Basima, example from Bosnia. These topics are very hard for me, but thank you for this. I don't know how much time do we have. I thank you for sharing your thoughts from Bosnia, from other countries, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's see, I'm looking at the
You're welcome.
Chat. Yeah, so we should stay in touch by email. We can also continue the conversation on Facebook, and then we can also look down the road and maybe and do more of these, maybe even expand the circle if we want to bring in people from other countries. But this is a beginning. We're just scratching the surface, but in beautiful ways. And it's wonderful to have this.
Thank you, Christoph and Cecilia, for these efforts and bringing us together. And we hope we'll find a way to continue collaboration and to get some of your books translated.
I will never quit until I come to your country. I want to see you in person.
You definitely should, because you are Greek. You are our kind of a guy, So we feel
See
that.
my tattoo. Look at my
Yes.
tattoo. It's arete, human excellence in all dimensions, and meraki, to live a life of soul.
Yeah. So
Thank you so much, everybody. This is a real gift for me and Ceci.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. So we appreciate this. And it was really joy, having a chance to talk to you.
Let's stay in touch by Facebook, and also let's send each other a group email.
Yes, we will. Okay.
It is an honor, Silka, really. Ivana, just everybody here. I really admire your work, and I wish we could clone you, Silka, and just bring you all around the world.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Goodbye and
bye.
Bye.
See you again. I will see you again.
See you.